Lunch live here from beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. We're live on Shem Creek today. You can't get any better than this. This is actually the first day I've been in town back home that I've actually had a good enough weather to be outside. Yeah. Yesterday, Thomas and I tried to do the show from the rooftop downtown, one of the rooftops downtown, and we just got rained out. But it's good to be with you on a special edition of Power Lunch Live today. This is our second show, but while I'm in town, I wanted to talk to entrepreneurs in town that are really doing interesting work, building unique companies, and I've got that today. We're going to talk to Ben here in just a second, but the show is broadcast on LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn's new platform. We also simulcast on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and now Twitch. And the point of the show is to bring you today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders who are doing unique things with their businesses, things that we can all learn from to make us all better at what we do. And so today I've got Ben-Jamin He is the CEO and founder of On Purpose Adventures.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to chat today about his business. I found it unique in what he's doing and how he's thinking about growth in his small business, and I thought it was something that we could all learn from and use in our own businesses. He's gonna keep up with the social media today here on LinkedIn.
I will try,
so that we can answer questions. So if you have questions, please do answer them. We're gonna multitask. We're gonna split up we're gonna multitask today, and so if you have questions, please do answer them so that we can get to them.
There we go.
And we finally got it up. So, Ben,
nope.
Cut the volume.
All right.
Where did, number one, I got to ask you, you've creatively using your name to sort of set yourself apart. I thought that was Ben-Jamin, hyphenated Jamin Toy.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. I thought that was fun.
So
it shows commitment to branding. I got to tell you.
So, I've had many nicknames growing up. I was a Benji for 15 years. I grew up, I'm a child of the 80s, I don't know if it was because of the dog or not. Was when I tried to change that, it was just Benj. Then, I realized that every Benjamin has been called Ben-Jamin. And so I figured why not just use that to my advantage, embrace it. And it does set me apart because Benjamin's so common, first, last name. There's rabbits named after me. And then my last name is just a common noun. So the Ben-Jamin, one, is memorable, but also for SEO purposes and branding of the self. Yeah, I did that before I even had the business though too. So it was one of those interesting things.
Did you change it legally?
Not changed legally.
All right.
I have considered it. Not sure it's really worth it.
Fair enough. So we were talking before we went on about, some would think, okay, you have an outdoor adventure company, but you don't think of it just like that, right? It's not just about stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking and taking people on a couple-hour trip. You've got a whole different perspective on this.
With the idea of being on purpose, we're about being intentional and deliberate, and the mindset is that I have somebody for a brief amount of time. How can I impact their life through an experience? And so we are an experience business, and by connecting them with nature or another individual, we can maybe help combat depression and anxiety and get them out of their comfort zone. We can challenge them in a way that might make them change.
Okay.
And that is really the premise of an experience that we hope to create,
whether
on land or sea. Historically it was creating experiences that we took groups whitewater rafting, and then it became adventure-based bachelor parties, and some of it was just about having a plan, because so many of those just go off the rails when they don't have a plan. So it's about being intentional there. And now with our corporate team building and facilitation and scavenger hunts, it's about engagement and the idea that connecting with a historical item or a team member or nature just has more learning involved with it. When you involve me, I learn, Ben Franklin. And same thing with a kayaking tour or a retreat. The goal is to get them out and not be talked to, but talked with. And
Okay.
I believe every participant in an event is a co-creator in the story. Rather than here's the mission, here's the agenda, here's what we're going to do, I'd rather actually have groups do partial things that afterwards get to conversate on what was different and what was their experience, so they get to piece together the whole thing together, because it forces them to connect. And what did you do? Well, if they do the exact same thing, the experience is the same.
Right.
So I'd rather create an environment that gets to share. They get to talk about it afterwards.
You were talking about before we sat down, the school groups, right, and how they used to hate the city tour, or the historical tour of Charleston. Which, if you've never been, you need to come and see this lovely place. But how did the app? You said you created an app that sort of lets them interact. How did that change things? How did that? Tell us about that.
Great. So, my wife and I actually bought a 20-year-old business, and there have been consistent customers with that business. And school field trips would come here and do multiple things in a couple days. And we always did the kayaking side of this. And then when I started walking the island with the planner of the school for the event, I was asking about the different things they did, and he said, "We love plantations. This is a history tour, but the engagement of our students, they're middle schoolers, and great information, they're just not engaged." And I said that this app that we have that has 6 modes of gameplay, which actually has a way of inside the aquarium of being educational and learning, we can bring history to life, and they do fun things and they learn things. So it's just a way of also capturing photos and videos. Tablets and screen time can be a very big negative, right?
Right.
Here we are talking remotely because of it, though.
Right.
So our goal is to use it as a bridge, right, to connect them with nature, with doing something they love doing, and then we can take that content of the videos and photos, make a video of it, send them that. Now they have this thing that triggers the emotions and the fun of something they had.
And you have marketing.
I have marketing. It's built-in marketing. I mean, that's
Right.
genius. And so the app is actually a third-party one. We're the biggest users of it in this country. And I'm actually going to be in Amsterdam next month for a conference on scavenger hunts. But it's more than scavenger hunts. It's an engaging tool that can be used in many ways. I'm actually working with companies to use the app to gamify their training.
Wow.
And
talk
mobile
about that a little
escape
bit.
rooms, and so
training, getting people out of the conference room.
right.
for their training?
Our actual program is called Out of the Boardroom, BORED. So
Okay.
we want to get them out of the conference room, out of their experience, get them in nature, get them some vitamin D, right?
Right.
Fresh air, right?
Right.
Especially in Charleston, it's really great to have. Depends if it's low tide and the paper mill's going or not. So people have to get used to that.
I love Pluff Mud.
Yeah. It took me 2 years to like Charleston. I moved here and came kicking and streaming, and now it's everything I do, right? But the idea that training can be so monotonous, right? Here's what we need you to learn, we're gonna test you on it. And this is, I'm talking company-wise, here's our procedures. But how can you make it with a learning piece or a fun way? And so that's where our secret is. We gamify trivia or training. One example is we do scavenger hunts, and we've done a lot of mergers, companies that need to do some bonding and get to know you, and they want to do some personnel thing. This is a group of 20. So how do we connect you with your coworkers now? And they said, well, Joe from accounting loves tennis. If I just made that a question of, okay, who loves tennis, you'd have no idea. But if we said Joe from accounting loves tennis, our app records video. Record your team playing a game of imaginary mixed up doubles, right? And so now you've had this memory of first of all, you had to imagine you're playing make-believe as an adult,
That's awesome.
recording it, having fun with this. But now if I want to go play tennis or have a question about it, I'm going to go ask Joe.
Right.
And so how do you make that as an anchor? How do you make this knowledge tidbit? Now, apply any type of knowledge in that way, and the memory is more powerful that way. Because you've gamified it, you've involved them in their learning.
And they've learned something about each other that they probably wouldn't have gotten to know.
Correct. Cohesion and engagement make the company stick, or a group or a sporting team, whatever. Those are the things we serve.
So it seems to me then that you're really not offering off-the-shelf type of experiences. They're really tailored to what that organization needs. Is there that doesn't seem to be easy. So,
well,
yeah. No, go ahead. No.
So we started completely off the wall. No, everything was custom. Took a lot of time to come up with proposals.
Right.
The irony of that conversation right there, is that coming up with packages allowed us to grow.
Okay.
Creating an idea package, but from a corporate standpoint, that just is the starting point. Here is I'm interested in that, and then we customize from there, because no client, no need is the same. But the irony is that, I used to throw mud on the wall and find out what happened, right? As an entrepreneur, I had to say yes to everything. And then a couple years later, I'm like, oh, that doesn't work, it's not profitable. So we're gonna come up with packages of things we like to do that companies like, or clients, and when we did bachelor parties or whatever. And now it's been the case of, okay, I like that idea and I like this idea, but we need to do this, we need 90 minutes of this instead of 2 hours of this and that. And so, but having because if you give too many options, that's what I found, is that when you give so many, we can do anything. Right. Well, what's the budget? Well, we've charged $1,000 per person and we've charged $25 per person. What do you want? And so those packages gave us a starting point. Okay. And then we customize for their needs, right? Mm-hmm. And the end thing that we sell might be similar to somebody else, but the program that we actually create is always unique.
You were saying, and I found this intriguing, and earlier, and I learned a little bit in my business that I could, if I had a customer problem or issue, that if I got on the phone with them, I could fix it.
Right.
I could solve that problem. It was usually a matter of listening, understanding what the issue was, and coming up with a solution. And I was uniquely qualified to do that because I could make the decisions. Right? I could make the call. Right. You were talking about how you don't just send out pricing.
Right. When
you get a proposal or a call for proposal. And you talk about that, because I thought that was, I don't know if it's bold, or I don't know how to look at it, but I like it because it's a if I get you on the phone and if you give me 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you're going to do business with me. Right. So talk about that, because I thought it was a unique way to go about sort of selling what you have.
And I've had that mindset since the beginning. When
it's counterintuitive.
It's counterintuitive. I would say, and I also will tell a client that they're not a good fit way before they realize and all those types of things. But I ask questions first and see if our solutions can fit. Now, what that means is we get email inquiries from the website, and we get calls in that literally just say, hey, we're interested in this and this, because they saw the package, right? We're interested in these things, right? Send us pricing. Hey, we'd love to, but we actually have a couple questions we have, because the programs are, you say team building, you might mean more of a bonding thing or a mix in between there and all that kind of stuff. We need to really try to find out what your goals and needs are so that we have the right expectations for the event.
Right.
And that's been my main mindset because of training, or now with a staff that answers a lot of my phone calls and emails, I've had to teach a staff that who they don't want to have that communication. I had to literally, no.
Right.
I have pushed off people for 2 to 3 weeks that send me the info. I'm like, no, we need to talk. Right. They go into their meeting unprepared because they didn't have the numbers. That wasn't my fault. We said, they call back, their assistant calls. I ask what they need. I say, well, we can do this, that does this. Oh yeah. I have had invoices paid in 13 seconds. My average lead time on an invoice is 3 days.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Just because of that approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so because they know what they need this, and I also cover a lot of those things up front on how we handle certain things and why we do what we do. And
what's the process then for you? So when you get a proposal and somebody says we want to do this, so that you can tailor a program to them, is there, how do you get the information that from how do you discern what you need to do or what they want or what they need? I mean, is there a form, or is there information that they fill out that helps you understand what you're doing?
So it all starts on which way if they call us, there's one set of information that is gotten from our answering system, and then our website is a form they fill out. But when we've already decided to do business, that's when those other detailed forms. First, it's conceptually, here's the project we're doing. because we are unique, I guess, in the sense that I won't spin my wheels trying to come together with a creative, unique proposal or working all these details until we have an idea of what we're doing. And after that, and this is irony, is that just 3 weeks ago we actually solidified the actual process. There used to be general things that we would do, but now we even have a form that we take internally, either send them via email or now it's over the phone, that we need to know what hotel, where you're staying, where it's at, how long, facilitator's name. We even need to know, when we make a video for you, what would you like the title to be? Some folks don't want to call doing a scavenger hunt, but if we call it Adventure Quest, they're all about it, or Amazing Race, or whatever, right? To me, it's the exact same thing, but the words matter because they had a bad experience with something else or whatever. And so we now have all those details taken in, so it is custom to them, and we will then connect them with the facilitator, and in our scheduling app with our facilitators, they know this is the information they have. We have this. They're starting here, ending here. Here's our point of contact that we talk to. Here's the day point of contact, because sometimes they're different. So we've now gotten a pretty well-oiled machine on all of those things.
What I find really interesting about this is that you've taken a business, Charleston in this area, there's a big local community, but it's also driven by tourism and corporate conferences and events, and it's a beautiful place to come. But for a large part, the economy is based on tourism and people coming in. That you've taken a business that is normally thought of sort of as a small business, right? And thought about it in a way different context where you could capitalize. You were talking about things that you do when tourism is down some of the downtime, right?
Yep.
You're building corporate events and you're doing other things, and thinking about it in a much larger way than, say, just getting through January or February when it's too cold to get in the water or whatever it is. Talk about that a little bit, because I think that, again, that's what I wanted to really emphasize today, is that if you have a business like this, you can do a whole lot more with it, right? You don't have to stay in and think about it in sort of the traditional way. And I think that's what I like about what you've done, is you have a kayak company, right? And I can go over there and probably rent a boat right now if I wanted, and a guide, and go for a kayak ride, but that's not it.
No.
And I really liked it that you've thought about it in a much larger way.
So I looked at it, we were given the opportunity to buy the kayak business 2.5 years ago, and it was a great jump start and credibility to the team building business, which is fledgling. And I started working part-time there when I'd only been in business 2 years. I was a part-time employee for a long time because I was running my own thing. And so the idea now is that there's this warm season that people want to be on the water,
right?
But there's a team building season, if you will, that's in the off season, like you just mentioned. And for us to have the highest quality of facilitator or employee or staff member, I wanted to figure out how to keep them as busy as we can all year. So I took our team building facilitators and scavenger hunt facilitators and cross-trained them to be kayak guides.
Love it.
And then kayak guides that wanted to not have to go back to their other types of jobs. They love to be outside. They love to be a little crunchy. We are a unique breed, right?
Right.
And so then I cross-trained them to be facilitators as well, using some training and coaching that I've learned, and with our own process. It's been very useful to keep people afloat for the year, right? The challenge, of course, is that it's still sporadic and based on things, but the beauty is that where we were very reactive on the team building, so okay, they call us, it is tourism based, 8.5 years of business, it's mainly companies, historically, it's always been companies coming to Charleston. And then our partnerships have allowed, they call us, now we are into the national and actually international. We meet them here.
Right.
It literally started by us saying we were mobile. I bought 10 travel suitcases that all my gear fits on and carry-ons, so that I never lose my luggage and I can go straight from a plane to do an event. And I said, we travel, so now we meet clients in Charleston and they take us everywhere. So that has allowed us to expand, because yes, it's good here, but what if something does happen? What if all the challenges that can affect tourism?
Right.
I want to be a business that isn't, I want to go where it's beautiful weather somewhere else, or where the company needs us. And you
Right.
know, we even
clients have their events in other places,
Right.
And if you've done a good enough job for them here, why can't you go to Hawaii when they do their conference in Hawaii? Or
we actually already have facilitators
Right.
there too.
Right. Why can't? But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that's
yeah.
that's I think you take it global with it's sort of just disrupting that traditional business.
And a lot of times, Charleston, they come for larger company things, but also the leadership comes for retreats. And we do a lot of C-suite level stuff. And I've worked with several $100+ million companies, and so it's humbling that our process and things that we do resonates with them. But I've met C-suite folks that have now taken us to Denver. We're going to Atlanta next year or next week, and then Vegas. And so like that our process resonates in the corporate realm because it being unique and the intention and the deliberateness that we put on with it.
Okay. Can you explain that process a little bit?
It's in parentheses. Now, the process is that we ask actually 3 questions prior to an event. Our out of the boardroom experiential team building is we ask 3 questions about their overall intention of why they're coming on this retreat and what they want to focus on: communication, leadership, trust. That is for that specific event. What are they here for their overall retreat? And then are there specific instances or issues that we need to address in a subvert way, right? Mm-hmm. So those 3 things help us gauge what we need to focus on. A program that is a program that is based on or helping with conflict resolution is going to look a little bit different than leadership. There's still leadership components to it, but how we design that is a little different. Mm-hmm. And helping them convey, especially on the C-suite, we do activities. I look at the world a little differently, and one of our most requested activity on our second thing is an activity that was a drinking game. And I won't go into details in it, but it was a drinking game that I turned into a facilitation game that helps you understand the breakdown of communication with each level of how much your message gets skewed.
Okay.
It's a combination of Pictionary meets telephone. And so when the C-suite learns that, or even the CEO learns that their message isn't even getting past their C-suite, what do they think the regular folks are hearing? What story are they being told?
Right.
And so that's our intentionality of how long do you check that pulse? How often do you check the pulse? And then that's a resonating theme through our programs if that's the focus that we work on. So it's fun to work with. We love to keep a 10-to-1 ratio of facilitators to trainer or to people, but I've also managed a 340 person event by myself.
Okay.
What we do is very different in that aspect.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's with intention. It's how can we maximize the takeaways from it, right? I'm not doing an event to get another event out of it. And I've heard that is sometimes the way that some people approach it. Oh, if we do this, we leave you hanging more. No, you're getting everything that I can give you, that if we never see each other, you are better. You are a better person. Like, my goal is to give you takeaways, to be a better human, a better significant other, a better parent, a better,
Right.
employee, right? A better boss. All those factors in. And keeping up with the trends and customizing our programs to the books that are reading, actually.
Right.
What are you currently working? What is your mindset within your culture? Oh, it's extreme ownership. It's the 5 dysfunctions of a team. All right. Well, we're going to tailor our program to that book to reinforce and edify the verbiage that they're already hearing.
Right.
So we are flexible in that approach because we're not SAP coming in saying our system is 100% working because you have to adapt to our system, right?
Right.
No, you've created a culture. Now I'm going to help you work with that and see if there's some issues in there. But for the most part, our stuff needs to reinforce what has already been being ingrained. And that's where synergy really happens.
What have you learned sort of in this journey? Because I think that we were talking a little bit about both of our journeys to this point, right? The journey that's kind of made you who you are and as an entrepreneur. Talk about that a little bit. And I mean, you've got a unique perspective on branding and personal branding, and so talk about that sort of journey briefly and how it got you to where you are.
It starts all the way actually at childhood. I was raised in a barn.
Right.
almost literally. My mother taught people how to ride horses, and before the leashes on kids, I had a horse halter and played in the arena while but it was integration. I never spent an hour in daycare. I grew up in the woods. And as that progressed, and I went to college because I was good at math and science, and I started following and listening to other folks, right? I had a grandfather who owned restaurants, my mother was self-employed, so I had this business owner mindset, but, oh, this is the route you need to go.
Right.
I was miserable. I used to have an office with no windows.
Oh.
And I was dying inside, right? And I couldn't explain that. I couldn't figure that out. And then I was performing for folks. I had a window, but I wasn't getting rewarded for that. So then I was like, if I'm going to fight for money, I'm going to do it on my own. So now I've traded in an office with no walls. But engineering, was my training, and then I went from engineering to sales because I realized that engineers were capped, at a company, and you can turn that into a business, you can get more with it. But for me personally, I looked at folks that have been there at that company 30 years longer than me, that only were making $30,000 more than I was making.
Wow.
I couldn't do that.
And we're tied to their
Yep. And
desk.
then sales for me was an opportunity to make almost nothing one month and then a whole lot the next month, and I loved that side of things, and that was the drive. Then when I started this business, after a year and a half, so successful, produced the Southeast's largest zombie race, ended up being homeless for a little while. But that's where I cut my teeth on, do I really want this? Do I want to pursue these things? I am an annoying optimist, where if I'm put in a room with horse manure, I'm digging to look for the pony that should be there, right? So the idea is that I had the best time. I have a wrap up year, like a video that showcased the events that we did that year, because I was still doing things. I was running my business, working part-time, under houses. The hustle was alive. I mean, I mainly did one event for my own business, but that is all I ever talked about. I didn't talk about the demo work that I was doing, the crawl space stuff that I was doing. The vision was alive. And part of that was, I had no money. I like to joke to say that I didn't have a shoestring budget because I wear sandals, and I have a year-round Chaco tan line.
Right.
But I was given advice early on that it's cheaper and easier to brand yourself individually than a business.
Okay.
And social media is free, at the time.
At the time.
And so I branded myself as Mr. Adventure. Not that I was doing the craziest stuff, but I was just always out doing something fun and adventurous on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And I had friends that, honestly, I was jealous at, that they were going on these 2-week, 3-week trips that they could afford. I literally made $10,000 a year at that point,
Right.
I used to make 10 times that, right?
Right.
But I was doing a lot of fun stuff. So every time something adventurous or crazy would come on social media, it gets sent to me 30, 40 times, because I was who people thought of for those things. Now, I wasn't getting many clients from those, but I was getting referrals eventually, because when they thought of, if somebody's looking to do something fun, or a company needs to do, they never did anything with me, but they knew that I had that reputation.
Right.
And that's kind of how that morphed from that.
And that helps you did it help you sort of understand where this could go?
Yeah, it really, the interesting thing on the branding side of things, I'm more than my brand, but I'm also less than my brand. I'm not as crazy in some cases, but I'm also way more than that. And on Saturday, I did nothing. I had a day off. I don't want to go outside, right? And that was a good time. But the brand helped me. Ultimately, my original vision was to do an event that people paid extra to have Mr. Adventure at, right? And I think we're soon to be at that point, because we have good facilitators that can do what the programs that we've paid or we've created. And so eventually I'm able to go live and work my business, but not have to be in an event unless they want me to be there extra.
So, final takeaway, if you're talking to another small business person or a medium-sized business person out there who is really struggling to grow and struggling to think about how they can do more with their business, what would you tell them?
One is, first look at strategic partnerships. Who has the bodies or the connections to your ideal customer? And if you connect with them, what's in it for them, though? It can't be one-sided.
Right.
Where is that relationship? We've been blessed that in 8 years, I've only had inbound calls and relationships because of these partnerships. We've only spent $4,000 in advertising, which in some cases is not going to be possible. But For us, it was. And it's because of the partnerships of organizations that had my types of clients always contacting them. And I was able to be a easy solution for them to solve those clients' needs. So look at who has those peeps, right? Who has the people you need, and how can you get in front of them in a creative way? But that takes some searching. Like, most people don't dive down far enough and truly, we can serve anybody. Yes, but you need to figure that out. As an entrepreneur, we say yes to everything, right? And I said yes to tons, and it's now the year of no for us. Like, not doing that, I'm focusing on this, and these are the 3 things that we do, and if it's not in that, no. And I will refer, we'll go there, but I am adamant about doing that type of thing right now. Is yes gets you here, and every entrepreneur has to say yes to get things right.
Right.
You have to do things to make money.
When you start,
you've got to. And I said that the mud on the wall that got me here is now going to form the bricks of the foundation of the next phase.
That's great. One other thing I think you said that I wanted to get your take on before we wrap up. You talked about work-life balance a little bit. And I thought what you said there was really interesting, because I tend to agree. I think that when you're first starting out, if you don't have the expectation, there is no such thing as work-life balance. I don't think there's anything such as work-life balance, but
there's some people say that's just life. There's life, right?
Right.
And I think there also is a difference, though, between being a W-2 and an employee versus a business owner. So if we're talking to the business owners, I believe in work-life integration and being able to figure out how to still be on your business but be remote or do things. The story that's funny, depending on who's listening to it, is that on my honeymoon, I was on a ski lift in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I took a phone call that pretty much paid for our honeymoon. Now, the great thing is my wife was still in the room. I was getting early morning runs in and all that kind of stuff, and she would never know about that if I never told the story. But I was on a lift on a Bluetooth headset taking business calls. And that, for me, is the integration, is that I can run. We are in this amazing time that we can work so remotely, and never as a time, with video calls, we still be connected. But that is also the dichotomy, right? I don't want to be connected all the time. I want to be able to be present. So you have to find what that balance is. You have to find the balance of being present, because I'm out doing a kayaking thing and I want to embrace this dolphin jumping, right? But I also need to take a photo of it. So maybe I just say, no, this one's for me, right? I've got enough good photos. I don't need to. We once had I had a woman on a tour. We had 12 dolphin sightings. She never saw one. She was so focused on taking the photo of the last sighting that she never got to see the new pop-up. So there's a lesson in just being present and just
taking a picture,
a mental snapshot, right?
Yeah.
And we're so in the let me show you what I did thing. I rarely post, and we have business. This is just my life, and every so often I'll say, here's something fun we did or whatever, and I have a full Dropbox of photos that terabytes of that I'll go back later, maybe, right?
Maybe.
But, right. The integration piece, I think, is key. 2 hours, go do something fun, 2 hours. And then that also comes into the remote workers. Remote workers are more productive if they're not ruled with an iron thumb. I also know remote workers that if their mouse is idle more than 5 minutes and didn't tell somebody they went to the bathroom, they're in trouble, type of deal. So you have to have this, treat people as adults, treat them as humans, and let them go take care of their kids or a doctor's appointment, and they'll catch up with it later and all that kind of stuff. So that's how you integrate work and life.
Yeah, I think that's an important takeaway. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us this afternoon. We are lucky because we're out here. I hope you are lucky and have just as beautiful a view as we do, and are having a great day. Thank you again for spending your valuable time with us here on the Power Lunch. You can actually find out our upcoming schedule. I've got Ben Fanning tomorrow from Charleston, and then next week we are in Mexico from Guadalajara, and so I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to being back in Mexico. But you can find out the schedule. We've got a great lineup in November. We're also going to be in Luxembourg, and we'll be back in the studio around the end of this month. But you can find out that schedule on powerlunch.live, powerlunch.live. That's the domain. And thank you again for spending some time with us this afternoon. And we'll see you tomorrow.